Hi. So, it's been a long time since the last time I made a video, but I want to say hello, reintroduce myself. My name is Nefertari Tiara, and I am the creator of Taste and See with Tari. Yes, Taste and See with Tari. I think that's the new name I came up with. Woo! So a lot has happened, if I'm totally honest, in the last 3 or 4 years since I've last created a video. I had bought a house. I can insert a few clips here of that whole process. That was crazy, in Atlanta, and new construction, and it was everything that I thought I wanted. But what I have learned is what I truly desire is freedom. Freedom means freedom location. Freedom means being able to have new experiences no matter where you are in the world. Freedom is being able to get up that very same day and decide, what do I want to do today, and going and doing it. And in America, that's just not possible. I really wish it was. Because just like anybody else, I have family, I have friends that I really care about, and I wish that I could create the life that I truly desire here in the United States. However, after 35 years, I just had a birthday in February. After 35 years of living in this country, I have realized that the only way that I can obtain the level of freedom that I really desire is to simply leave. And I'm hoping that my family will at least come with me, but I know that that's a long shot. And because I have to deal in reality, I have realized that, hey, that may mean making the move by myself. And this wouldn't be the first time that I've had to do so. I think everything that has happened up until this moment has prepared me for this moment, right? So, like, for example, leaving high school and going to college, I wasn't quite ready to leave. I'm originally from Texas. At that time, I wasn't ready to leave the state, but I knew I wanted to leave Houston. I knew that I wanted to get out of the Houston metro area, but I wasn't ready to get out of Texas. So a good compromise was to go to Baylor University, which was about 3.5 hours northwest of Houston. There are days, if you know me personally, you will know that there are days that I regret choosing Baylor, right? Because there are certain things as an African-American woman that you have to learn how to navigate. But overall, I will say that it taught me some things. It taught me how the real world works. It got me out of my bubble, and it expanded me in a way that I didn't expect. Not just academically, but also socially. So moving forward, graduate from college, and I decided, you know what? I'm tired of Texas. I want to experience something a little different. I'm kind of liking the idea of Georgia. I had a friend that was going to law school in Georgia, and in Atlanta specifically. And at this time, you know, the Housewives of Atlanta was popping off. And that was the first time as African Americans we saw on television Black people really doing well. Like, everyone has heard about Atlanta being the Black Mecca. Everyone has heard about the same thing for DC. But it was our first time actually seeing it if you weren't within those communities already. So I said, okay. I mean, because I come from a middle-class background. We did okay, but we weren't considered upper class or anything like that. And I wanted a shot at that. So after graduation, I made it my mission to go to Atlanta. And it took about 4.5 years for me to actually see it to fruition. And once I got to Atlanta, I was excited. I have learned through this journey that I'm a person that thrives off of new things. I like new experiences. Some people may call it shiny ball syndrome. That's fine, But at the end of the day, I have learned to embrace the fact that I thrive off of things that are new experiences, meeting new people, exposing myself to new cultures, even new languages. I've been to Dominican Republic twice, once for a mission trip and another time just for leisure. And both times, I will say that the mission trip was definitely more fulfilling than the regular tourist vacation type of trip. But essentially, all in all, I've realized that I like new experiences. Even if it's an experience that I say, hey, I tried it once, it went left, and I don't think I'll do it again. Like white. Okay, I can't talk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whew. Okay. White water rafting. I did that once. I fell out of the water raft, and I'll probably never do it again. But I'm happy that I actually tried it at least one time. And the more times I think about experiences I've had for the first time, I'm realizing that I thrive off of new experiences. So instead of fighting against that and trying to make myself fit into this mold that is get stable, get a job, get a home, like, why not just expand? Why not just be who you really are so that you can have happiness at your core? I've been asking myself that question essentially. And I'm ready to do that. So I moved to Atlanta 4 years after college, 4.5 to be exact. And, it was new to me. I really like the landscape. I'm in Atlanta right now. I like the landscape. I like it's a beautiful place to be. I'll put it that way. You have Stone Mountain. I like being able to climb that when I want to get a good workout in and get my heart rate up. I like having that option. Houston, everything is flat. There's no mountain to climb, So I like the diversity when it comes to things to do. If you're a single person, Atlanta's great for that. However, now that I have spent about 7 years or so, I purchased a house in 2021. It was a townhouse and it was my first home and I was super excited. I even have footage here that I never shared on YouTube. Like I said, I may include that somewhere around here. But after 3.5 years of being a homeowner, I realized I hate it. I don't like being a homeowner. And maybe that's because I did it by myself. And maybe it's just because I don't want to be a homeowner. And you know what? I'm learning to realize that that's okay. You don't have to like the things and strive for the things that everyone else likes. You just have to make sure that this limited time on this earth is well spent for you, that it counts for you. Because if you spend this time, I have had to have this conversation with myself. If you spend this time trying to chase the things and get the things and whatever, obtain the things that other people are saying that is the definition of success, then it's just going to backfire in the end, because you have to be happy within yourself. And we all know this. This is not new knowledge, but I don't think we understand the level at which we ignore this advice. There's so many things that we do on autopilot, even though we hear people telling us, do what makes you do, or do what gives you peace, however the Lord leads you. We hear that and we say that we receive it, but then a lot of us still do the things that the status quo tells us to do. And we've convinced ourselves that, yeah, that's what I genuinely want for myself. But lately I've been asking myself, because I wasn't expecting to not enjoy homeownership, and I ended up selling my home 3.5 years later. I just closed last week that by the grace of God, because the area that I bought in, I can't speak for everything, for every area, but the area that I bought in, that home was depreciating. That's the part that no one wants to say out loud, but it was. It did really good in 2022. It went up, but every year after that, it has depreciated. And this is Atlanta. This is where people are constantly moving to. So I can only imagine what it's like in metro areas where no one wants to live, right? But that's another video. I just wanted to give you all an update on where I'm at. I have sold my home. I have gotten all of my stuff in storage, not even in Atlanta, in Houston. I literally drove from Atlanta to Houston with my mom's car on the back being towed, and we drove on Saturday. Sunday, we unloaded. I put her stuff back in my parents' house and my stuff in storage. And this is the most free that I have ever felt. I'm currently staying with a friend. No, I don't know where I'll be next month. But I am super grateful for where I'm at in the moment. And I'm grateful for the level, like the weight that has lifted off of me. As you could probably see this little Chili's. I'm at Chili's. This is my spot, y'all. Don't judge me. I like Chili's. I know that we're not supposed to like basic things and basic restaurants, but I like Chili's. Specifically, the Texas cheese fries with no jalapenos and extra ranch, okay? So, I may have had 2 Long Islands, and I'm cutting this video because I need to let it wear off a little bit. Mind your business. But, I just say all that to say that live your life. What you think is going to make you happy isn't always the thing that makes you happy. Sometimes following the script, i.e. getting married, having the children, getting the job, climbing the corporate ladder, making all of the money, sometimes that is fulfilling. Sometimes that is just enough to make you say, yeah, I'm content and I'm good. Thank the Lord. And sometimes you can be content, but there's still something like just nagging at you. And I just want to leave you all with this. Are you truly thriving, or are you just surviving? Are you living the life that you were designed to live, or are you living the life that you were instructed to live? Because they're 2 different things. Sometimes we like to assume that the things that make us comfortable, or the things that put us in a situation that appears to be of more wealth, is the same as the thing that God has for us. And that's not always the case. Actually, most times that's not the case. God has a way of pruning you and making you super uncomfortable, but also loving on you and growing you in the process. So I would argue that the more comfort that you have, it's possible, not definite, but possible that the less we're growing in those states. And the more discomfort we have, maybe we're growing more. Maybe we're getting to know ourselves a little bit better. Maybe we're giving ourselves new experiences. We don't have it all figured out, but you know what? We're taking life piece by piece and little by little. To me, what I'm learning is that is 10 times better than having life planned out and figured out. Because the problem with having life planned out is it's planned out until it's not. Right? So I'll give you an example. I signed in 2021, I signed a mortgage that said that my monthly amount would be $15.08, I want to say. No, $15.38. $15.38 per month. Mind you, this was more than I had ever spent in rent. But we were coming out of a pandemic, and I saw the rent prices rising. So I knew that if I had not bought this house, my rent was going to increase to at or below that number, or at or above that number. So it just made sense to buy a house, right? And so in your mind, you're budgeting, you're planning, you're thinking, okay, I know that this $15.38 is a little bit of a stretch for me where I'm at, or maybe it's not, because maybe you make enough money to cover that and then some. But the point is, you plan for that $15.38 as a homeowner. And yes, you're told that you're as a fixed rate mortgage holder, your principal and your interest is going to stay the same. And that's true. But the part that is glossed over, and they tell you this if you pay attention, but it's still glossed over. They tell you that, yes, your property taxes can still increase, but not much emphasis is placed on that. They tell you that, yes, your HOA amount can increase, and here's the general amount or the general percentage by which it normally increases. And you figured, okay, yeah, I can handle that, because by the time that increase happens, I'll be able to afford it, because my income will also increase with it. So it's fine. It has not been fine. In 3.5 years, my HOA went from $150 to $177. Now it's $225. Well, I shouldn't say now, because I closed on the home. But when I closed on the home, it was $225. And then a couple of weeks before I closed on the home, there was a meeting. And one of my neighbors told me, I didn't go because at that point I was checked out. But my neighbor told me, like, yeah, they're talking about increasing it again to, I think, like around $250. So we went from $150 to $250 in just 3.5 years with no amenities. It doesn't make sense. And I know some of you think, oh, well, $100 is not that much. It is, because majority of Americans would be a completely different financial situation if they had just $200 a month extra. An extra $100 a month, that makes or breaks a lot of people, because a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. That's not including the property taxes that are now increasing. Mind you, my first few years, I got lucky. I purchased new construction, and a lot of people who purchase new construction don't do the homework, and they assume that the low property taxes that they're going to pay is going to pretty much stay around that amount, right? So like, for example, they tell you all the time, if the board, well, they don't actually tell you all the time, but if you do enough research, you'll find out that if you're like one of the first few homes to purchase your property as new construction homeowner, they will base your property taxes based on the land itself, not with the actual property. After a couple of years, or maybe just 1 year, your property tax will significantly increase because now there's property on it. Okay? In my case, I purchased my home just after the midpoint of my community being built. So there was already an increased property tax for my mortgager to base my property taxes on. So they didn't base it on just the land, they based it on the land and the actual home, which was great because I actually ended up overpaying. And so those first 2 years, I actually got a refund, which was awesome. I'm like, okay, great. But this year, I started noticing an extra amount being added to my escrow account. And I'm like, well, where is that coming from? And it was an advance coming from the mortgage company, because my property taxes had increased, not from a miscalculation from the builder or anything like that. Just simple inflation has caused my property taxes to increase by, I want to say, like $800 for the year. That has caused my escrow to go completely out of whack. So had I held on to my home, it would have put me at an extreme deficit at the end of the year when it was time to pay the property taxes. And that was my cue to get out of my house. Because I realized when the HOA increases without any extra benefit, when your property taxes increase and everything is the same, there's no extra, there's no police force, there's no nothing. There's nothing to justify the increase, but you were paying more just based off of simple inflation. I realized that renting with a roommate is probably the better option because it's ghetto out here. Okay? So I made the hard choice to sell my house. Even though my mother was with me, I had to sit her down and say, hey, I'm sorry, but I have to sell this house because it's hard out here. And when your mortgage is 45% of your income, that's rough. And then your car payment and car insurance is another 20% of your income, of your monthly income. You start to feel like you're suffocating, because you are. Financially, at least you are. So I choose to free myself. I don't care what no one else has to say or think about it. If people think that by selling my home means that I'm going backwards, then so be it. You have to learn to live for you. And I'm going to learn to live for me. And for me right now, that means freeing myself of financial burdens. And it also means getting the heck up out of here. I gotta go. I have to go where I can experience a better life. I invite you to join me on this journey of exploration. I'm excited. Sold my house, got a decent little check to be exact, but it's a check and it gives me some options. And so not only do I want to travel for leisure, but I want to slow travel to like really see the world and to allow my money to expand as far as it can. My goal is to get into remote work. So I just invite y'all to come with me on this journey. I have plans to do a cruise in July with my sister. We are going to Mexico, Grand Turks and Caicos, Celebration Key, Bahamas, which is Carnival's like new private island. They're going to be opening it up this summer. And in June, I plan to do some scouting trips to Panama and Colombia. And in July, I would love to, or maybe the end of June, beginning of June, I don't know, we'll figure it out. But my goal is to do Panama, Colombia, and then Spain and Portugal. I want to start with those 4 countries because I think that those 4 countries are going to give me the best bets, the best bang for my buck in terms of, if I decide to relocate. But I may just decide to spend 30 days here, 30 days there in slow travel. There are people literally doing that and have been doing that for 9 years. And then they'll come home for a month or so and then they'll go back out and slow travel. I might do that. I don't know. We'll see. But I invite you to come along on the journey. I'm excited. You'll get excited. We're going to have some vlogs. We're going to have, I'm going to just take y'all along with me as I do it. None of this is planned. I'm just planning it as I go. So stay tuned. Stay connected. How do you do the heart? I'll see y'all soon. And come along with me. Let's have fun. Let's have some dialogue. Talk to you soon. Checking out Taste and Tea with Tari. Have a good day.